Hi, I'm Paul. This is the Musical Mandala, and today we're going to get into inversions. Inversions are fun, and I just want to kind of introduce the subject and the basic idea and some ways that you can play around with it. A useful image to use in relation with inversions is a snowman. Like a snowman has a big ball at the bottom, it has a medium ball in the middle, and it has a smaller ball up top, and that's what makes it balanced, right? And a chord that has the root note, like let's take a G chord. The root note G is also the bass note. And that's like having a stable snowman. Now a chord has a root, fifth, and a third in it. And the least stable element of all these is the third. So if I put the third at the bottom of the chord, that's going to be like taking a snowman and putting the head at the bottom of the snowman, and it's going to be a little wobbly. And so the third in a G chord is B, played here on the A string. And there's a G over B chord. Now I'm going to play back and forth between a root position G chord with the stable bass and then a G over B, that is the first inversion chord, and just take note of what you hear, right? So here's G. Come to G over B. Back to G. I'm home. I invert it. And note that there's like this feeling that it's not quite done. It's a little unbalanced. It's moving, and then I'm gonna come back home. And that's the basic idea of an inversion, is we're taking all the same notes. In case of a G chord, it's G, D, and B, right? The root, the fifth, and the third. And we're putting a different note on the bottom of the chord. So let's look at C. Here's a C chord. The third of C is E, which is played here on the second fret of the D string. So same thing. Here's C, C over E, oops, back to C. So we're just playing around with stability and instability within a chord. Now, there's also a fifth that we can play, right? Here's C, and the fifth is C, E, G, right? And we can play this G on the third fret of the low E string. And it's so common, this root and the fifth in the bass. There's a very dumb popular joke that goes, how many bass players does it take to change a light bulb? 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. So the root's in the bass, stable. The fifth is in the bass. It's somewhere between stable and unstable. To me, it feels like it's like preparing you to come home. Or it has that kind of teeter-totter effect of the alternating bass pattern. And it's a great tool to do one of our fundamental purposes in these guitar lessons, which is to bring your chords to life, to take static forms and bring them into dynamic play, right? So now I can alternate between the root position chord, C in the bass, first inversion chord, E in the bass, second inversion chord, G in the bass, and then root. And I'll just play around. So try that out. With the G chord, there's also a fifth that we can access, but that fifth is going to be an open D, so it's the fifth above, like G, B, D. There's our triad. So G, D, G or B. Fun. Let's look at a couple minor chords. So here's A minor. And an A minor chord is voiced A, C, E, right? And so here's a C on the third fret of the A string. So this gives us the chord A minor over C. Sounds and feels like this. Then we'll go to the root position. First inversion. The second inversion of an A minor chord is A minor over E, and I think it sounds really good with this low E, the open E. So we've got A minor over And now I'll bring all of them together, playing A over E, A over C, over E, And finally, let's look at E minor. So here's E minor, E in the bass. It's a root position chord. Now the third is G. E minor is voiced E, G, B. Here's G, third fret of the E string. Let's dig this. Now, because G is like putting the head of a snowman at the base of it, making it unstable, I'm probably not going to hold it as long when I play. You know, I'll be like... It would sound funny if I ended my tune on E minor over G, if I went... Feels undone, right? We want to feel that resolution of the root and the bass being the same. But at the same time, we like the feeling of like taking an adventure to a less stable place. Now, the fifth of E minor is B, played here on the second fret of the A string. So I can play root. Second inversion. Play around with all three voicings. Root position, first inversion, which means the third's in the bass, and second inversion, which means the fifth is in the bass. Here we go. Okay, so there's our the basic idea of inversions and a bunch of ways you can play around with them in a C chord, a G chord, an A minor chord, and an E minor chord. And if you're feeling especially adventurous, you might notice how those chords start to connect with each other through the inversions. Have fun with these. There'll be a lot more videos going deeper into it. Right now, I've already got a deep dive in A minor up that you can check out. I'll put a link in the description. And